All right, my dears, Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This is our Spa Social Beats episode where Danielle and I bring you a bite-sized bit of information on social media strategy, tips, tricks, what's going on in the world of social media today. And on this episode, we're talking about brand ambassadors, micro-influencers. Should you use these types of individuals, these influencers, in your marketing strategy to get people in the door? So, Danielle, first, let's kind of unwrap what this strategy is and talk about when it's a good time to actually use it for spa.
Yeah. So if you're not quite clear on what a micro-influencer is, and actually there's another term I've seen floating around called nano-influencer. It's like even smaller than a micro-influencer. So we hear of all these like Instagram influencers, right, that have hundreds of thousands of followers. That's not who we're talking about. Micro-influencers are typically people with less than 10,000 followers. And although I don't know the exact metric for nano-influencers, I would venture that it's someone between 1,000 to 5,000 followers on Instagram. And these are people who actually have very deep relationships with their following and with their audience because it's on a smaller scale than these huge mega influencers. They're actually having conversations. They're actually building relationships. And a lot of times their audiences are very, very influenced by the content that these people share. So if they recommend something or if they share something in their life, like people are noticing and people are then, it's just like a mega referral, so to speak. So when it comes to using this as a strategy, this is something that you would consider as like a paid advertisement. It falls in that paid part of your social media or media strategy because generally speaking, micro-influencers, nano-influencers are going to want to be compensated for their content in some way, shape, or form, whether that's monetarily or through an exchange of some kind. So that's just something to keep in mind.
So let's talk about how you actually find, like say, okay, yes, I want a brand ambassador program. And we do over in Spa Retail Rockstar, we've got a whole module on how to create a brand ambassador program, but let's just give a high level view of what you need to put together for like keys to success. So this doesn't just become a big flop. How do you find the people? How do you run the program? How do you make it work?
Yeah. So I think you've got to do some just good old fashioned research in terms of finding people specifically if you're a local spa, right? You want to make sure that you're working with brand ambassadors and micro influencers who live in your area, who have that local angle to their influence. So just an example and a story that I love to share is an esthetician that was in my previous area that I lived in, Jacksonville, Florida. She reached out to a local girl who's a fitness trainer. She runs like boot camps in the park, very well known locally because she just has focused her Instagram following to be about living in Jacksonville and being a young adult and a young professional and business owner in Jacksonville. This esthetician reached out to her to form a partnership as kind of a brand ambassador. And I don't know what all the details were of their engagement, but that's one of the elements of success to answer your question, like having a set agreement of, are you going to be doing 3 stories? Are you going to be doing posts? Like really outlining how is it this person's sharing about your business and what's the exchange there, compensation for media, and then making sure you find that right fit of, does this person's audience align with my audience, both brand values wise, location, general feel and ideal client fit. And when this esthetician worked with this fitness trainer and she had her come in for a treatment, this girl like did a story sequence and just shared about her experience. I think she did some stories of her actually getting the treatment, kind of that behind the scenes type of content that we talk about. It booked her out within less than a week because her audience is so engaged. This fitness trainer's audience was so engaged that they loved the experiences she shared. And then they immediately went over to this person that she's tagging and saying, I had a great experience here. And she did some follow-up stuff with like, this is how my skin is feeling. And that was a huge traffic driver because it's a mega referral. And that type of engagement, you want to make sure that you have really clear expectations for what the influencer is delivering for you, and making sure that, I think the other elements of having brand ambassadors that are doing this type of social media influence work, have those clear expectations of the deliverables, but give them creative freedom of how they're going to share.
Because they know their audience better than you do, right?
Yes. Yeah. Don't try to direct how they're going to be sharing or what it is they're going to be sharing in their content. It's more so I want to make sure that we're on the same page of, if I'm giving you this, you're executing these parameters, but giving them the creative control is what's really going to give you the authentic content that you're going to be really excited to use. And that's also just one extra thing. Outline it in your agreement. And you always want to have an agreement when you do these types of things. Outline in your agreement that you can continue to use that content if that is part of what the influencer is up to agreeing for, because that's awesome content that you can post as a case study on your site or in a blog post, anything like that. You can leverage that content.
Yeah. And I think that, if you have one person, typically when you start a brand ambassador program, like, to just be real, it's going to follow the 80-20 rule, right? If you have 10 people that sign up to be a brand ambassador and you're like, yes, I'm going to be booked out for months, it's going to be amazing. Typically 2 of those people are going to be awesome and 8 are going to be flops. And it's not because they're bad people or anything like that. That's just the way that it works. It's like, there's certain businesses or people that resonate with your product, with your brand, and there's certain ones that don't. It's super important that you're tracking. Each brand ambassador should have their own code, or you should have some way to track who is driving traffic to you. Because if you don't, you're not going to know who it is, right? And you want to make sure that you're really taking care of and supporting those people who are sending you the clients and the business, and ultimately whether you're going to pay them, whether you're going to do trade in kind, like whatever that relationship looks like, you want to make sure that you know where those people are coming from so that you can continue. But I would say, like, if you don't get that like home run out of the park fitness trainer person on your first try, like, keep trying, keep going, find those people, use the hashtag training that we have inside of Post with Purpose. We show you how to use hashtags for people to find your content and how to search. Reverse it. Do the same thing. Search for other people using local hashtags that would have a similar audience as you, that you can reach out to, build the relationship with them, and say, okay, here's a way. And this is a long game, right? Like, this is something that you would use probably in combination with paid advertising, in combination with SEO. You want to do a little bit of everything, because it's not just one thing that is the magic, potion that's going to just make your business explode. It's the synergy of all these things together working in harmony to be able to just say, okay, yes, here it is. Now you've got the brand ambassadors over here. You're on the front page of Google. You've got the ads going through. You've got all the things going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when it comes to selecting the right people, like, really just take your time and do your due diligence and like building those relationships. Like, that's what everything you said about the hashtag research, that's really important to just make sure that you're getting that good feeling, because once you can find those couple of winners of a brand ambassador, like, that can really turn into a long-term relationship that really pays off. So yeah, having that diversified strategy and those real life people helping you execute out in the neighborhood, that can be really big.
Perfect. So I want to encourage you guys to do a little research in your area, find maybe 5 people to begin with. See if you can find 5 ambassadors. And one more thing before we finish up this episode is that, you were talking about nano influencers, micro influencers. It's really not about the number. Like, even if you found someone that had 1,000 followers, if those are 1,000 engaged followers, think about that. That's 1,000 people. Think about that in context where like a stadium, a lot of times will hold like 15,000 people,
Yeah.
So 1,000 people, like, I don't know what a school gym holds, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I always tell people, like, sometimes I'll hear things like, oh, I only have 500 followers. And I'm like, imagine 500 people in your living room. Like 500 real people, like all those followers are real individual people. So don't worry about the follower count. I think the important thing to look at when you are doing your research of these ambassadors, look at their engagement, like how many people are commenting on their posts. Of course, it's hard to see certain metrics now that we have stories and stuff, but if these ambassadors are posting a lot of varied content, like they're doing reels, they're doing IGTVs, you can get a sense for how active they are and how active their community is. So just dig in a little bit and see how engaged are the people on their account, and that'll give you a good feel.
Perfect. Love it, love it, love it. All right, guys, take action. Action creates clarity. Love that. And we will catch you on the next episode.